So now I am pleased to introduce Mike Schreiner, leader of the Green Party of Ontario and MPP for Guelph. Mike Schreiner was elected leader of the Green Party of Ontario in November 2009. He is the first member of the Green Party to be elected to the Ontario legislature. Mike has been an influential advocate for local and provincial environmental issues. He is a successful entrepreneur and small business owner and a champion for small businesses, local food, and sustainable communities. I want to express my congratulations to Mike for his election in June and offer him a very warm welcome to AMO stage for the very first time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Absolutely.
Oh, it's great.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome and the kind introduction. This really is a historic moment. For the first time since the 1940s, a fourth party is now serving in the Ontario legislature. I want to share this moment with you. But first, I want to acknowledge that today we are meeting on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. And I want to show my respect for their contributions to our community and show my respect for the contributions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples all across Turtle Island. And I think now, more than ever, at this particular moment in time, the importance of having an Indigenous worldview in thinking about the decisions we make today and how they affect the next 7 generations is critically important. So it's an honor to be here with you, the elected leaders of our municipalities, the 444 communities across this province. And I want to thank you for the work that you do serving our communities. And after a summer of unprecedented provincial interference in local democracy, I want you to know that the Green Party of Ontario believes deeply and is committed to local democracy. We respect municipal politicians and local decision-making. And we see municipal leaders as partners, not adversaries. And I want to acknowledge that municipalities are the most underfunded level of government in this country. And yet you deliver the services that most directly affect people in their day-to-day lives. You confront an infrastructure backlog of staggering proportions. You are on the front lines of dealing with the climate crisis. You are struggling to find homes for seniors, while at the same time struggling to ensure that young families have an affordable place to call home. You are on the front lines of the opioid crisis. You know how much the lack of mental health services is affecting our communities and our healthcare system. And you know how important the lack of social housing and supportive housing is in housing the homeless in our communities. And so I believe, and I will fight for this at Queen's Park, I believe the provincial government must be your partner in delivering solutions that address these challenges today and tomorrow in a way that puts people first. And it starts with a commitment to working with you to close the $4.9 billion funding gap that exists for municipalities in this province. We know, the Green Party knows, that property taxes alone will not fund the services our people need in communities. Asking the property tax base alone to close that gap will put a burden too great on seniors. It will make housing too unaffordable for young families. And we need to find a different way. And so that is why I will acknowledge that we have one taxpayer in this province, and I will oppose any additional cuts to the gas tax because it has significant implications on people's day-to-day lives and the ability to fund municipal services. To play shell games with money, to take money out of one pot to put it into another pot when we have a $4.9 billion funding gap is simply unsustainable. It's irresponsible, and it doesn't serve our communities. I also believe that it is critically important for the province to learn from municipalities. It's not a one-way relationship. Municipalities are right now taking the lead as innovators in generating and implementing new ideas to solve local, national, and international issues. Municipal innovation is exemplified in the outstanding ideas arising from the Smart Cities Challenge. And I can tell you, I am so proud to be from Guelph, one of the finalists in the Smart Cities Challenge, where our proposal with the County of Wellington is reimagining how a food economy can work, utilizing innovations in the circular economy to reduce food waste, increase access to affordable food, and create jobs in the clean economy. It is one of the reasons I will fight hard to ensure that the regulatory implementation of the Waste-Free Ontario Act begins to take the burden of waste management off the backs of municipal property taxpayers and put it on to the companies that generate the waste in the first place. I will continue to push this provincial government to play a leading role in fostering innovation by responsibly investing in infrastructure and institutions that support innovation. Institutions like universities and colleges, libraries and innovation hubs, healthcare and social housing. Investors and innovators, they want to invest in communities that their workers want to live in, invest in, play in, and raise a family in. And failure to invest in our communities is bad for business, it's bad for prosperity, and it's bad for the quality of life. So we know in the 21st century that the digital economy and the innovation economy will be critically important to generating jobs and prosperity. That's why the Green Party will continue to support the rollout of broadband internet across this province, creating the digital highway we need for communities across Ontario to be successful. And here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line that the government needs to hear, is that we cannot cut our way to prosperity. Yes, we need fiscally responsible government. We need prudent investments. But we also need a government that's going to put evidence before ideology, that's going to put people before politics. And nowhere is this approach needed more than our investments in transportation and transit infrastructure. Gridlock is choking our economy and taking time away from family and community events. And we need in this province to connect all communities, urban and rural, north and south, east and west. Subway slogans will not build transit. Playing politics will not build transit. What will build transit is investing money responsibly based on evidence and good planning. That will build the transit we need to get the biggest bang for our buck. And so that's why Greens will push for the restoration of rail service in Northern Ontario. That is why Greens will push for intercity bus connections across this province. That's why, please, that's why Greens will continue to push for all-day two-way GO service, particularly in the innovation corridor that connects Toronto, Guelph, and KW. That is why we will push for LRTs in Ottawa and Hamilton and Mississauga and the appropriate places in Toronto. Because this province needs smart, responsible investment in transit planning. Our economy, our environment, and our quality of life depend on smart transportation solutions. Others can talk about chopping a few cents off the gas tax and other simplistic, short-term solutions. But the Green Party believes in a more dynamic and sustainable transit future, one that positions our municipalities for the low-carbon economy, one that focuses on moving people and goods, not just cars. We need to skate to where the puck is going, not to where it's been. And my commitment to you and to the minister is that I will work across party lines to deliver the transportation solutions we need to get our economy moving again. That said, I worry that the current government is trying to return us to the past, to a time that we cannot return to and we should not return to. Why is this government, the new PC government, abandoning the clean economy just as it is taking off? Abandoning renewable energy projects just as the price is dropping dramatically? Who buys high and sells low? Only the Ontario government, I guess. Why is this government turning away investment in clean technology and innovation when we need to replace lost manufacturing jobs across Ontario? The Green Party will continue to push and to ensure that the world knows that Ontario is open for business in the $7 trillion clean economy, an economic opportunity that is too big for this province to thumb its nose at. Ripping up contracts and dismantling the province's climate plan will not install investor confidence in Ontario, as the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and the Council of Canada have already stated. But we can, even when the province isn't leading, we can find inspiration at what's happening at the local level. Oxford County is the first jurisdiction in Ontario to commit to a 100% renewable energy future. The city of Guelph is committed to being carbon neutral by 2050 and having its own corporate energy being powered with 100% renewable energy. Hamilton and Burlington is partnering with Mohawk College to design sustainable, carbon neutral cities. And these are just a few of the examples that are happening across the province, where municipal innovators partnering with business and industry are literally delivering on the new economy. And so I ask, why is this new provincial government scrapping our climate and clean economy plan with no alternative to replace it? All indications are that climate change and the low-carbon economy are not even on this government's radar. We've seen this happen elsewhere in the world, but we've also seen the strength of cities taking up this challenge, taking up the fight to reject climate inaction and to work together to reduce pollution, create jobs, and embrace the clean economy, and to continue the innovative work you are doing to leave a livable planet, not only for ourselves, but our children and grandchildren and future generations. I commit, the Green Party commits, to working with you, to being an ally and a partner, to do everything possible to make Ontario a leader in the emerging clean economy, capitalizing on the $7 trillion economic opportunity. And an important part of delivering that solution is to working with local governments to make sure that we start to redefine our relationship with municipalities in this province and in this country. To give you more power, to recognize the maturity that cities have in today's world. In a 21st century world, when in the case of Ontario, 85+% of Ontarians now live in cities and towns. And as we think about reimagining what that relationship looks like, we as Greens will commit to working with you to invest in the social infrastructure that we need in this province. Our education systems, our healthcare systems, our long-term care systems, meeting the mental health needs, reducing the wait lists, working with you to build affordable housing, not only for the homeless, but for young families and seniors. But we also recognize how important it will be to work with you to invest in the green infrastructure this province needs, particularly in the area of climate change. Insurable losses in Ontario in the first 6 months of this year alone due to extreme weather events was $696 million. If we as a province continue to pave over our green space and our farmland, it'll make it incredibly difficult to prevent flooding and to reduce the most extreme losses due to extreme weather events. And so that is why we not only have to continue to protect our green belt, but to expand it to include the blue belt, to protect our waterways and river systems, because we simply cannot afford the costs of the climate crisis without taking preventative action right here, right now, today. So I want to close in my final minutes to offer a commitment and a challenge. I believe I was elected in Guelph because of my commitment to doing politics differently. I made a pledge to tone down the adversarial relationships that exist at Queen's Park and to work across party lines and to figure out a way to balance confrontation and cooperation, because nobody has a monopoly on a good idea. I'm sick and tired of the toxic politics that exists where it's we're always right and you're always wrong. And what we saw in the first 5 weeks of the 42nd Parliament over this summer doesn't pretend or portend well for the future of good governance in this province. The level of disrespect I saw, particularly between the governing party and the official opposition, would embarrass most school teachers in this province. And so I'm going to challenge my colleagues on the opposition benches and on the government benches to actually tone down the partisanship, to tone down the political games, and to start governing this province by putting people first and showing that we can work together for the greater good. And I cannot think of a better place to look for an example of that than municipal councils, where you have to work with each other instead of always against each other to get things done for our communities. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for the amazing work you do for our cities and our communities. And I want you to know that the Green Party is your partner and your ally in building a financially, socially, and environmentally sustainable Ontario. Thank you.